What's up? We are back for another episode of Lever Up Your Life, where I'm bringing on guests to share their strategies and secrets for leveraging their knowledge, resources, and contacts to lever up their life. This week, we're fired up to bring on Shastine and Nikki. I know I'm streaming on Instagram right now. Nikki, if you need to sync yours up, take a second to do that now. If y'all don't know Shastine and Nikki, you've almost certainly seen their work and just didn't realize it's them. So we'll just kick it off there. And honestly, we can start by just sharing about what you guys were able to accomplish last year, 2024, in your business and what exactly it is you do in your business.
Nikki, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Shastine and I own and run Bell Style Designs and Restorations. We are basically an investor's dream. We run the flip and the design parallel to one another. So you're basically getting as we like to say, our motto is turnkey, turn heads. So you hire us, turnkey, our design work and everything shows that it will turn heads on your MLS, hands down. Last year, 2024, was Shastine and I, just crushing it at life, crushing it in the flip department and churning and burning these flips like crazy. We did surpass 200 flips, and hopefully we are on par to surpass our 2024 goals in 2025. I'd like to see us hit 300, but we'll see. Hopefully with this lovely meeting we just had with scaling and proper or a little bit better organization than what we already have, we should be able to hit that. So as we all know.
And you were able to get some sleep last year as well?
No.
No. But this year is my goal to hopefully sleep. So
we can sleep. Yeah, maybe. We didn't sleep in quarter one.
No.
Okay.
Maybe quarter two we can do a little bit of sleeping.
Correct.
That's fair. So let me ask you this. I'm curious what you guys, as people, a duo that has crushed hundreds of flips now, what do you think the role of an investor should be in a fixed?
That exact role, an investor.
And what do you mean by that?
They need to stay in their role, just be the investor. Allow us, the team that you hired, to play their role. We're not the investor. So let us play the project management. Yeah, the project management role, the design role, allowing you to focus on your investment role, which is buy more flips.
Yeah. I mean,
finding more money, things along those lines.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Like, project management is not even remotely close to playing investor. And one of the common things I hear, especially from me coming from the wholesale world, is like, no, you can't do wholesale and fix and flip. Two different businesses. Like fix and flip, you get tied up in the project, yada, yada, yada. And I disagree. They're almost the same. Your job as a fix and flipper is to run the numbers, make sure the deal works, and then secure financing and make sure that you've got contingency plans in place for how you're going to manage a project. But that's all you're really doing is managing the financials. It's a project manager who comes in, actually runs the project, works with the contractors, knocks all that stuff out. You don't need to do that as a fix and flipper. The first fix and flip I did, this is kind of embarrassing to say, and this wasn't that long ago. I didn't know project managers were a thing. And so like it was me showing up to the property and like you
doing it.
And like, look, it wasn't the worst. It wasn't turning heads. I can promise you.
It was nice though. You showed us and you did a good job. It was your first one. You showed up, did the best you could. But the problem is exactly what we were just saying. You came from an investor and you also project managed your project. That was not your thing. You didn't know about people like us. So that's where we come in. We come in and literally make your life so much easier.
That's actually a great point. So I didn't know of people like you. Most of the people I talked, like most of my borrowers, I work with a lot of people who are newer. I've done less than 10 deals, right? Pretty my clients. They don't know project managers. So like, how does an investor find a great project manager and build a relationship with them? Great PMs.
I think for Nikki and I, it's more like word of mouth. Hey, you just like you, You found us from other people who used us.
Yep.
So you already had a great experience coming in because you knew the people that used us had a great experience with us. So
Correct.
there in and of itself is value because you don't have to deal with the headache of I
Trying
don't
to
know
find
these
somebody.
people. Yeah, you didn't have to vet them. They
Yes.
became fully vetted to you.
Correct. Yeah, that's one actually rule that I have is I don't partner with people or get married to people in transactions until I've been able to make money from a distance and watch. So this is a perfect example. I watched from a distance you guys crush 3 or 4 flips that I funded. And so it wasn't like I didn't really feel like I was risking my money, or I didn't feel like it was inappropriate the fact that I went to our project, I think 4 times total and twice was to shoot content.
Yeah.
Already seen while I was making money and not, having necessarily something on the line on the first 4, your work, right? If it's somebody who like getting their first flip, what are some of the questions they can ask to figure out if their project manager is legit or not? Because I think there are a lot of PMs out there that are like kind of just they call themselves a project manager, but they don't really have
And they
experience.
don't.
How do you weed them out? Like if I don't know anything about design or managing contractors, how do I know if a project
I would
manager
ask to see a portfolio. I would ask to see a portfolio. You want to see someone's resume all day, every day. You want to see what design they're doing, especially if they're doing design for you. You want to see previous jobs that they've done. You don't want to marry yourself to somebody, and not only marry yourself to somebody, give them tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, not knowing who you're basically getting in bed with, because it's kind of what it is. That's a very expensive relationship, and a relationship that you want to make sure is a relationship that you want to move forward with. So I would highly suggest everyone uses Instagram. There's no way that a project manager or a designer doesn't use Instagram. It's absolutely impossible. This day and age, it's impossible, especially from a design. All of us designers want to showcase all of the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
We all want to let everybody see it. So if they don't have an Instagram, which I find that very hard to believe, I would still want to show me previous jobs and making sure that you are seeing previous, projects that they've ran. You have to see some kind of resume. I would not just pick, Bobby Sue and Billy Joe out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think Bobby Joe is a great name for a project manager. I'm sure
it was like a promising person.
Agreed.
How did you guys? So how long have you been partners in your business? Because it wasn't. It was.
Let me tell the story.
Right?
Let me tell.
Okay, let's hear it.
Shastine wants to tell a story.
I'm going to tell the story. Story time. Okay. So years ago, believe it or not,
5 years
he
ago,
was my first client.
Wow.
He was my first client, and I just put this ad for a painter that I wanted to keep really busy, and she was in need of replacing her painter, and we just boom, we just here we are 5 years later. That's how it happened. And
off of Facebook Marketplace, mind you.
Let's go.
Yes, but we know you love Facebook Marketplace, so I know you're going to appreciate that. And she had a need, I had a need, we came together, and here we are 5 years later. Now, it also goes back to what you were saying earlier, like how are we different than a project manager that maybe project manages different things other than like a fix and a flip.
Yeah.
Nikki and I both have experience in fixing and flipping.
Yeah.
So what better project manager than to have people that have already been in that on both sides. So we're not here just spending your money. We understand what it's like to be on the other side, having to fund all of this. So we're not here hitting you with change orders, giving you unexpected, things that, we didn't foresee. We know we're like completely, it's full circle. We understand both sides.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And what do you think about? So I hear oftentimes people talk about partnering with a project manager as opposed to like pay for a project manager type of relationship. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because in ours, we had it set up as, you know, a formal like 10 grand for a project manager plus built-in incentives and penalties based on timeline, right? I know you guys are kind of doing more of the like JV type model. What are your thoughts on, like, from both sides as a project manager, designer, but then also from an investor on like how to set up that relationship with your project manager and what makes sense?
I think that's kind of tough. I think with Shastine and I, it's a little different just because we've been on both sides. For me personally, I don't know if I necessarily would go do that with another project manager who didn't have the experience being an investor and being a PM, mainly the investor side. Because if you don't know that side of things, I find it a little tough from a numbers standpoint. You know what I mean? Are they putting in sweat equity? Are they funding the rehab themselves and then you're splitting profits 50-50? Are you, is the PM putting up the beginning basically draw, if you will, if you're using a hard money lender for said project, and then you're working off the draws that way? There's just so many different aspects. But for me, and I would say Shastine as well, to do the JV deal, we also don't just want a JV with somebody who doesn't do numbers properly, because sure, a JV sounds great, but if you have someone that really doesn't know how to run numbers, that can be really bad very quickly. So while yes, we do JV, we JV with very far and few between people, and mainly clients that we know what's going on, and knowing that they know their numbers, and knowing that we've probably been like Nick Saltzman. Nick and I have been business partners for 2 years now, before Shastine and I officially made like our thing, even though we've been running parallel together. Nick, all day long, we've been JVing, not from the beginning, because I used to just be his PM for a while, and then we decided to join forces and we JV everything. But I know Nick's numbers are always solid. Yep. Nick, he runs his numbers well. He's good at what he does. So JVing with him is not a problem, because we know that Nick knows how to run his numbers. Now, are we going to go JV with somebody who's done 1 or 2 flips? Probably not.
Yeah, it's their first flip.
Yeah, probably not. I think it's a lot of avenues and a lot of things that can entail to JV.
It's funny, the timing of this live, because I was on a call earlier today, literally discussing someone's first time project managing, another person like first time flip, and JV is not working out very well, right? Very clearly undefined roles, very unclear on capital contributions. And I actually see that a lot of times. Like most people, when you're starting, you kind of have to find a partner, right? Like it's expensive to get into a deal. Yeah. Realistically, correct, you want to have about 100K. Like, let's be real. 50K, maybe you can just barely get into a deal. Yeah. So there are a lot of partnerships, and that's the model that I'm a fan of. Like, if you're going to be a PM, especially if you're starting, like, get your paycheck. You don't want to have to wait 6 months to get paid anyways, and then hope that the numbers work out, because I don't know, probably like 1 in 3 flips don't make any money or lose money. Yep. I mean, do you think that's a fair estimate?
I think it's totally fair.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
That's fair. I think a lot of people also, that what Shastine and I see is they run their rehab budgets a little too slim.
Yeah, no contingencies.
Yeah, no contingencies. They have a very large order for a very small number, and I think that's for her and myself has been like the biggest struggle, is trying to basically guide or coach even seasoned investors of, yes, we understand you know how to do your numbers. Yes, we understand X, Y, and Z. But what Shastine and I also do is offer a premium. We don't just PM your job. We are also designing. So that in and of itself is a huge thing. You don't have to deal with design. You don't have to deal with PM. Typically, when you hire a PM, they're just PMing. Or when they design, I'm not saying this to all designers, so anyone who reads this or hears this, I apologize. But like a lot of designers will throw on white subway, black, just very 2020 COVID stuff. Yeah. That's just really not, as we all know, what sells anymore. You have to have that Instagram, that, things. Did we just lose Shastine?
She'll be back. She was taking a break. She's too overwhelmed by All your knowledge you were
Oh, yeah.
dropping.
Oh, there she goes.
Welcome back.
Hello. Welcome back to the show.
Sorry, guys. I was like struggling. I'm not sure if you saw me. I was like,
There's no plug in my
there's no plugs.
There's no plug and it's dying on me too. I know.
Oh
Okay,
my
guys.
gosh. That's
So,
terrible.
first
We work, you got to increase your budget. I hope you see this video. Don't
my
stop
God.
speaking out on the electrical work. See, WeWork went in with their project managers and designers, skimped on the budget, and now you've got no plugs
there's
for an
no
office.
plugs going on. They even have- I mean, mind you, look, they have it right here. They
Yes.
can easily put that there, but there's no plug.
I know.
Why not?
I was trying to like charge for my phone. It was weird. Y'all must have thought I was crazy. I saw Nikki like side eyeing me. I was like, man,
I got 21%.
I'm
All right,
struggling.
21%. We'll barely make it through the live.
We'll make it through. It's fine.
Well-
All that to say, I think that's also a huge thing is like what Shastine and I offer is just so very different. Like our design, just attentive to detail, staying on top of everything, making sure that if we finishing on time or finishing ahead of time, as you know, with your project, just things along those lines, I think also set us apart. And then it also just comes, it's also very different when you're putting a budget together, when you're hiring Bell Style as a team. It's like, yes, you may want to do this for $80,000, but you also have to understand we are also running a business and we also need to make money. We also need to be profitable. So just, guiding and trying to teach people, well, yes, I understand your bottom line is this, but you're bringing us in to do this. So there has to be some flexibility and understanding that all parties here have to make money because neither one of us want to run around like a chicken with their head cut off and making nothing. It's not.
And
Agreed.
ultimately, the person on the other side needs to see the value in it because they
Correct.
cannot scale unless they have people like us.
Yep.
It's different from an investor who only does 1 to 2 flips. They can manage their own if that's what they wanted to do. But if
Correct.
they want to max out at 1 to 2, ideally we're not the PMs for them. We're looking for the clients that are doing volume, that they want to scale their business, that they see the value that we bring in it. And like Nikki said before, the investor that's coming in on their first flip, more than likely, they are going to have a lot of struggles. They don't see the value in us right now because this is their first one. They want to maximize everything. Maybe they even want to poke out fires themselves so they know firsthand.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if they thought the process through, or maybe even had a little bit of insight, they would say, listen, it doesn't matter what it is. We need to have somebody like a Nikki, like a Shastine, because it really will help us in the long run.
Yeah. Well, my approach on it, when Jordan and I were talking about bringing you guys on, it was like, okay, we're trying to sell something mid to high 700K price point. It's like, we could save 10 grand or spend an extra 10 grand. What does the 10 grand do? Well, I'm certain that saved us at least 2 months on our project. So it already paid for itself on timeline for holding costs. Actually, more than paid for itself holding costs. So already paid for itself. And it's like, if I took the time and like thought about what I think the house should look like, I bet it would sell for 50 to 100K less. It's like, all right, this is worth it. and like it was, but the number one objection that I get when I'm talking to people who are newer or even experienced people on the phone is budget. Like you would think that when I tell people like, look, this is not realistic, you're going to be over this. I'm not selling you. I'm literally discouraging you from doing a deal that I would get paid on. But that's my biggest fight. And then what happens after the fact is these people come to me and they want modifications on their loans, which is a huge mess, takes forever. It sucks, honestly. But it's like, dude, I mean, be conservative. Even with ours, Shastine, I was like, my behind the computer math says like 85. And then I ran my numbers at, I think, a 110 budget.
Yep.
And we ended up at, I think, 103. And then we added stuff for landscaping in the back. And it was like 106. It's like, I look at deals all the time and my initial number was almost 20 grand short. So yeah,
I think that's a huge thing that you just said. A lot of people are just so stuck to their number and it's bothersome because they will walk away with a significant portion, you know, 40, 50, $60,000, but are not willing to be like, I need to increase the budget to get max, to be able to maybe increase your ARV or whatever it is. And we definitely struggle with that a lot as well. And I'm sure I mean, you said from a perspective, you know, struggling with it. We also struggle with it from our end as well. We've actually started changing the way that we bid jobs to kind of negate this moving forward.
And how do you do that?
We've just changed a lot of our like preliminary stuff of coming in, doing a pre-inspection, getting our bids from everybody, putting everything together. We used to allow our clients to give us an idea of their budget, but I'm nixing that out of the window because at the end of the day, and in all due respect, your budget is not our thing. Your budget is your thing. So you are hiring us for a scope of work with a number, and that's what we provide is a scope of work with a number. Your budget and what you have in the back of your head to make your numbers work really should not hinder us or pivot us as to how we give you our number. Because at the end of the day, if your number is 80K and we come in at 92, we're not going to change that. It's still 92. You can go through our bid and you can line item and pick and choose what you do and don't want to keep.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to your number, but we can't change where our number is anymore. And before, what Shastine and I used to do, to be completely transparent, is that we would honestly bend over backwards. We would pivot. Yeah. We would say, okay, they have $80,000. We can let's
figure it out.
Yeah, let's figure it out. And to be perfectly honest, it's been so incredibly stressful and really unfair to her and I to try to give an investor / client the world for just the numbers that just don't make sense. And honestly, for our sanity and our stress levels. So we are nixing that. So moving
and again, it comes back to the value that a project manager will bring to the table. Like if anyone does not see the value that the project manager brings to the table, the value in things that, you know, whether thumbs up, did you see that?
Yeah, what was that?
Thumbs up, and just like randomly put a thumbs up here. Okay, sorry guys. As I often digress. Okay.
I'm dead right now. That was so funny.
I lost my train of thought because of the thumbs up. But if people don't see your value, you can't sell them on your value. Mm-hmm. They'll eventually learn from from the lack of the value that you could have brought to the table. And I think a lot of people that we work with, to be very transparent, they don't really know the value because, like you said, you didn't even know people like us existed until you ran across us and then you saw the value in us. But you have the vision. Not everybody has the vision.
Yeah, for sure.
Part too.
Yeah. I'm curious about this too, because I told you 30 minutes goes by quick. I do want to talk about the market right now, because you guys do flips anywhere from, I mean, like mid 300s all the way up to, I don't know, you guys have done multi-million-dollar projects before, right?
We have two right now, multi-million-dollar projects.
So what are you seeing in this flip market? What do you like for price point of the projects? Like, I know you guys' stuff on the low end is still really nice. And of course, the stuff in the $1 million plus range is ultra luxury. What do you see that's moving right now and what's not?
This is a very loaded question.
It's the good stuff. We're here for the good stuff.
I think Nikki and I will both agree that we love the $300,000, $400,000 mark, that range right there. It's the sweet spot. Not a lot on the market for it. And honestly, when it goes on the market, if it's cute, it'll go like this. That and you know, we hear it from everyone, because remember, we're managing the project, so we hear it from the stagers, we hear it from and anyone, investors, anyone. They're like, look, we love this. The sweet spot is this, because look, we can get our staging in there, and then it's out in 10 to 15 days. They love that. So luxury market,
It is our sweet spot, but I do want to say that like we've definitely had a few that have been in that higher range, like the $600,000 to $700,000 range, that have not stayed on market over 24 hours.
Of course.
I mean, Passage, you know what I'm saying? Like those are really high ticket houses, and those went quick also.
But that was in a different market.
Call your buyers up. Tell them to buy mine. We're 30 days now.
Yeah, but you know what? Standard now, if realistically, like standard is 30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
It
kind
is.
of crazy. But it's yeah.
And our realtor was just telling us that luxury market, like you should be ready for about 180 days to be on the market for a luxury real estate. Now, we have a lot of investors that we work for that they're like, we want luxury, we want luxury, we want luxury. And it's like, you're jumping from that like $300,000-$400,000 margin range. Great. But don't expect to get an offer in 24 hours, full cash, you know, and that's what our investors are used to. They're used to, I know, it's craziness. It's just because I talk with my hands, but they're, you know, we have one particular client that every project we have done for him has been cash under contract within 24 hours.
Dang.
So that's his expectation now, but we're in a different market. So how are we going to give you a full cash and no inspection, full cash, no inspection, you know, and we're like, what? Over ask, and it's like,
that's not the norm anymore, though.
Yeah, it's not.
I hear they make whole communities about over asking.
There
it's
is,
like,
yeah,
oh man, that's tough
one.
right now. What price point do you constitute luxury? Like, is it $1 million plus, or is $1 million not quite luxury?
I would say $1 million plus.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I hate to say this, but like the standard now is like $600,000 to $700,000. It's just like $600,000 to $700,000 is like a normal $300,000 to $400,000 house now. So $600,000 to $700,000 is not really luxe or luxury. It's just a normal price range now for, in my opinion, like a normal, you know, annual salary for a husband and wife, like a family or something along those lines.
Yeah, so, I think the starter house range is like now $300,000 to $450,000, and then that second home purchase range is like $500,000 to $800,000, maybe.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree with that all day long. All day long. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So luxury, we're saying expect as much as 6 months on market when you run your numbers. The stuff that's first time home buyer, if there's not a lot of inventory in that area, like you can still do the whole same day cash offer type of stuff. What about for the price range that is like that second home upgrade type of, like same price point that I'm in with 88th Place? You know, we're talking areas like Seminole or maybe South Tampa, south of Gandy, maybe even a little bit north of Gandy, like that type of price point. What are you guys seeing for on market time?
I think that's what Nikki was saying. Yeah.
And we actually just procured one. One of our clients just got one right there in South Tampa on Lamb, and it'll go on market, I think, for like 1.5 or 1 point something along those lines. I mean, the neighborhood though, it also, in my opinion, also depends on your renovation and the neighborhood that you're in. This particular neighborhood is an extremely highly sought after neighborhood in South Tampa, like big time. Yeah. So, you know, it's around other multi-million-dollar properties and brand new builds, the whole nine. So, and obviously with the design that we bring, you know, I cross our fingers, it doesn't sit on market for that long for them.
Right.
You know, we can't control that, we all know.
Are you guys, I know you just got out of your meeting about scaling, picking up more. You did about 200 last year, want to do 300 this year. Are you ramping up more with existing clients or looking for new clients? And if so, like, who's your dream client? What do they look like?
Our dream client is you and Jordan. Yes. Okay. You. Okay.
And we're not saying this to toot your horn.
No, honestly, not at all.
A dream client is a client that understands that when we come to them with a number that is not barking, as long as it's realistic, you know, we're not talking about $20,000, $30,000 difference, but something probably a little over than what you were originally budgeting, just kind of like you were at 80 and you came in at 106, you know, that's still, but look what you got for that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And not only that, someone who pays on time, who allows us to do our job, you know, just is an all-around great person to deal with. They're easy to deal with. They're not, they don't micromanage. You know, they just allow us to do our stuff. And one of the biggest things that we've noticed also is that for some reason, I'm not sure why, some of our clients like to tell us how to run our business. And that is a little, you know, we're trying to shift to be like, this is our business. This is how we run it. And if that doesn't work for you, that's not a problem at all with respect, but maybe we're just not a good fit.
Yeah. 100%.
To you and tell you how to lend money to people the same way that you won't come to me and work on my job, you know.
And we didn't tell them how to source that deal. They sourced the deal because they believed in their product, and that was sourcing the deal. And just like Nikki said, you loan the money, but no one is teaching you how, or like telling you to change however you do that. No. So
they do sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry. How do you feel about that? You know, exactly. I'm sure they do. And how does that make you feel? You're like, this is my job. You know, I appreciate your insight. Thank you very much, with all due respect, but this is how I choose to run my business.
There's a particular finger I feel like holding up when people do that, actually.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, the thumbs up. I will say there's you know, there's something to be said about being a good steward and, like, you know, being on top of your stuff, but there's a spectrum. You are not doing, like, your job as an investor to stay on top of stuff, right? And then there's over here, you're way too involved. Like, let people do their stuff. You got to let them cook, you know? And you really need to be at a place where you're keeping eyes on things, making sure that things are on track, but you're not trying to do someone else's job or step on toes, right?
Correct. 100%.
If somebody wants to get in touch with you guys about potentially having you look at a project for them to manage or be involved, how does somebody reach out?
They can DM us on Instagram, or they can email hello@bellstyledesigns.com.
Boom. There you go. I got to keep muting myself because the leaf blower is going literally right outside. Super inconvenient. Of course,
real life in the background.
Yeah, it's real life happening, and of course it starts up as soon as we get into our live. So anyways, it was such a pleasure, one, doing business with you guys, and then seeing all your projects is always super fun, and having you on the podcast. So I really appreciate that, and it was a pleasure doing the show. And that wraps up. What's that?
Do we get to come back?
Yeah, you can. That makes sense.
Can we come back next week, please?
Next week is booked, but maybe a few months from now.
Yeah, he made sure he told us that he's booked out for the next 3 to 5 weeks. Well, excuse me, we are too. Into quarter 3 now.
Fair enough. Well, thank you all for joining in. Hope you learned a thing or two from the show, and that wraps up this week's episode of Lever Up Your Life.
Thank you, Jared.
Turn key, turn head.